Chair Frederickson.
Here.
Vice Chair Maroney.
Here.
Board Member Helton.
Here.
Board Member Russell.
Here.
Board Member Baumgartner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, item number 1, approval of minutes. Regular meeting minutes of the Board of Adjustments meeting for March 27th, 2025. I have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Go ahead. Pardon?
I can second it if you make the motion.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
For none, thank you. Item number 2, call the public. Comments from the public. Those wishing to address the commission should fill out a request forms in advance. Comments from the public will be restricted to items not on the agenda, with the exception of those on the consent agenda. There will be no comments allowed that advertise for a particular person or group. Comments should be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. The commission may not respond to speakers during the call to public. The commission may direct the staff to study the matter or request that the matter be placed on a future agenda. Do I have any comments from the public? All right, I see none. Closed. Item 3, action items. A variance requesting relief from section 3-90.130.c.2.d and 390.130b of the City of Kingman zoning code, drive-through retail or service facility, which prohibits A, drive-throughs located along a street frontage, and B, drive-through stacking areas located adjacent and parallel to the street or public right-of-way. Consideration of variance VA 25-001, a variance requesting relief from section 390.130c.2.d and 3-90.130b of the City of Kingman zoning code and drive-through retail or service facility, which prohibits A, drive-throughs located along a street frontage, and B, drive-through stacking areas located adjacent and parallel to the street or public right-of-way. If granted, the variance will facilitate the development of a 6,952 square foot convenience store and drive-through restaurant on 1.22 acres. The subject property is zoned Service Business Zones C3 on the western portion and Community Business Zone C2 on the eastern portion, and is located on the northeast corner of Stockton Hill Road and Northern Avenue. APNs 324-26, 455A, 324-26, 458, 324-26, 457, and 324-26, 456.
Well, good evening, board members and chair. Thank you this evening for having us here. My name is Heather Rasmussen. I am a planner with the Development Services Department in the Planning and Zoning Division. We are here tonight regarding variance case VA 25-0001, a request for variance from zoning code section 390.130, drive-through retail or service facility located at the northeast corner of Stockton Hill Road and Northern Avenue. A little bit of general information about the project. The applicant, Tess Garcia, has applied for the variance on behalf of property owner RG Gas and Grub LLC. The requested action is a variance from zoning code section 390.130C2D and 390.130B, the drive-through retail and service facility, to allow for a drive-through to be located along the street frontage and the drive-through stacking area to be located adjacent and parallel to the street and public right-of-way. This request has been reviewed against the zoning code section 270, the standards for variances. A little history about the property. The property was annexed into city limits in 1991, and on a 2007 zoning map, it can be seen that the western half of the property was zoned as C3, and the eastern half of the property was zoned as C2. Currently, it is under that same zoning. The western half is C3 and eastern half is C2. The western half of the property is currently developed with a fueling facility and convenience store, and the eastern half of the property is currently vacant. It does not appear to have been previously developed. On February 25th of this year, the applicant did apply for a concept plan review. Here's an aerial. As you can see, the property, the development on the west side and the vacant on the east side. They're bordered by Stockton Hill, Northern, and Sierra Road. The overall site is just over 2 acres, the western half of the alley being 0.79, and the alley and easterly portion being 1.22 acres. The proposed use being just under 7,000 square feet for a new convenience store and drive-through restaurant. The westerly portion includes fuel islands and that existing convenience store, which would be remodeled at a future date as a future phase. So as we noted, the code requirements, section 390-130B, a drive-through must only be located along the building's facade away from a street frontage, and 390-130C2D, stacking areas are prohibited adjacent and parallel to the street or public right-of-way. The proposal that was brought forward by the applicant and the resulting constraints, the proposed convenience store and the fueling facility are currently showing the drive-through stacking area adjacent to Northern Avenue and Sierra Road. So constraint number 1, the site is bound by rights-of-way on all 3 sides, with Stockton Hill to the west, Sierra Road to the east, and Northern to the south. This significantly impacts their design and functionality, which is permitted by right. Number 2, the project is bisected north and south by an alley right-of-way, which separates that existing fueling facility and convenience store from the proposed proposed convenience store with restaurant and drive-through. Even if abandoned, that easement would need to be reserved for a public utility easement, thereby restricting where the building could be placed. Additionally, constraint number 3, there is an existing easement located along the north side of the building, which also restricts its ability of where it can be placed on the site. An overview here showing in orange that north-south alley right-of-way, and then in green, the east to west existing easement as well. I think IT took over there for a second. There we go, back on track. So the proposed mitigation measures, the applicant is proposing the drive-through and stacking area be shielded by a 4-foot and 6-inch high combination wall and landscape buffer parallel to Northern Avenue and Sierra Road. The code currently states in section 390-130C4 that the drive-through aisle must be screened from the sidewalk and the street with landscaping or walls or berms that have a height of 3 feet. They would propose to eliminate the access with the easement, which would be the access that currently exists into that alleyway, in order to prevent potential vehicle queuing out onto Northern Avenue. And additionally, they are providing an overall setback of approximately 33 feet with a 10-foot landscape buffer with the drive-through lane located beyond. Under section 270.050 of the zoning code, these are the findings for granting variances, as well as ARS 946206. Variance shall only be granted if the applicant demonstrates the following. A, because of special circumstances applicable to the property. Excuse me, I lost my spot. Because of special circumstances applicable to the property, could be size, shape, topography, location. The strict application of the regulations will deprive the property of privileges enjoyed by other properties of the same classification in the same zone. B, that a grant of variance will be subject to conditions to ensure that the adjustment is the minimum variation needed and that it will not constitute a grant of special privileges inconsistent with the limitations upon other properties in the vicinity and zone. C, the special circumstances applicable to the property are not self-imposed by any person having an interest in the property. And D, the variance will not allow the establishment of a use which is otherwise not permitted in the zone, would result in the extension of a non-conforming use or structure, or would change the requirements of the zone applicable to any and all of the subject properties. Here we go. Staff findings as in relation to those requirements. A, the existing easements in the alley right-of-way bisect the site in a way that prevents the applicant from fully utilizing the site for the redevelopment of the fueling facility and construction of the new convenience store in a way that wholly conforms to the code. B, the granting of the variance would only allow for relief from zoning code section 390, 130, C2D, and 390, 130B. Provided the applicant applies for the right-of-way abandonment, purchases the abandoned property from the city, and submits a parcel plat application for combination of all 4 APNs and the abandoned right-of-way, which necessitates condition of approval number 1. C, the restricted layout options are imposed via zoning and engineering restrictions, and the applicant has demonstrated that alternative layouts are feasible. However, in doing so, there is the potential to cause conflict and harm between cross-traffic of patrons and delivery vehicles, which is the purpose the applicant is seeking relief. And D, the variance as requested would not establish a use that is not otherwise permitted in the C3 zone and does not result in the expansion of a non-conforming use and would only be applicable to the property in which the variance is being applied for. There have been no agency comments regarding this variance application, and on July 2nd, a public notice was published in the Kingman Miner. Additionally, surrounding property owners within 300 feet were sent a notice of the public hearing via mail on June 30th. That list of property owners was generated from Mojave County Assessor's Office. Additionally, the site was posted with a public notice sign regarding the requested variance on Monday, July 7th. To date, there have been no comments received regarding the application. We're here before you today regarding the request with 2 options. Option 1 would be to grant the request with the following conditions of approval. Condition 1, the applicant applies for the right-of-way abandonment and completes the purchase of the abandoned property subject to approval by City Council. Number 2, the applicant submits a parcel plat application for combination of the parcels and abandoned right-of-way comprised of approximately 1.2 acres in the C2 zone. Condition 3, the applicant's proposal shall comply with all adopted codes, city codes, and design standards, with the exception in which relief is granted by this variance. And condition 4, subsection 270.070B of the Kingman zoning code states that any variance granted will be void if the use is not commenced or if a building permit has not been obtained within 1 year of the permit being granted or within the time stipulated at the time the variance was approved. In accordance with that section, in accordance with subsection 270.070C, any future request for an extension of this variance would be processed as a new request. Or option 2 is to deny the variance. This action is to not allow drive-through and stacking area adjacent and parallel to the street and public right-of-way. The Board of Adjustment, in accordance with subsection of the Kingman zoning code, would find that there are no special circumstances related to the property location and that the strict application of the zoning code would not deprive the property privileges enjoyed by other property of the same classification in the same zone. With that, we'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Commission have any questions of Heather? I've seen that.
Yeah, I do have one. So I saw that all the properties will then have one APN, which is great. I appreciate that. When it comes to us giving them a variance, we've got the C3 and the C2. Does this make this C3? Are we changing C2 to C3 when this all happens and it's granted? Or are we just giving C2 a variance to do what C3 does?
Thank you, Chair and Board Member Hilton. This is not a rezoning or zone change request, so it would not affect any change from C2 to C3.
Okay, okay. And as you were talking about this, keep saying the store and the restaurant, but we're just talking about the original convenience store that's there right now, or is there gonna be another convenience store with the restaurant?
Thank you, Chair and Board Member Hilton. Let me go back to the proposed site plan. May be difficult to see, but to the left of the orange, which is the alley, that is the existing convenience store that is there now.
Right.
In the future, there are plans to remodel, I believe it's actually to demolish it. And so to the right of the orange and below the green, in that corner of the easements, that is the new proposed convenience store with a drive-through restaurant combined
Oh, okay,
inside.
so it's, okay, I get it. I couldn't tell, all right.
So they have to get approval from the orange, from the city and the council, and then also the green area?
The green area easement is already existing and would not be affected by any future actions. It would be the alley right-of-way, the orange section, that provided the variance is approved and their application moves forward. That would be an abandonment application, which then goes in front of city council.
And do we have I'm not really too familiar with Sierra. I'm sure it's probably not heavily trafficked, but is there a traffic report or anything for Sierra?
Chair Frederickson, it is not to my knowledge that one exists. That is the border with the county, and that is a county-maintained road.
Okay. So everything on the property there, city, on Sierra is county then?
Correct.
Okay.
And Sierra basically is, you have one more building across from it on Northern that's commercial, and then you have all the commercial going up on it, but the rest of it's all just residential. There's not, I drive it all the time, there's not much traffic on there. I wouldn't worry about stacking people there, yeah.
Do we have any further questions of Heather?
Will there be a survey done for entrance and egress off of Northern onto this property? Being it so close to Stockton Hill Road, and you can only turn right or left on Stockton Hill Road, people coming out would have to cross, if they're going south on Stockton, they'd have to cross one lane of traffic that would be turning to the right going out Stockton Hill Road. So will there be a survey done on that, or anything happens on this?
Thank you, Chair Frederickson and Board Member Russell. I would need to defer that to Jason on the details of traffic impact.
Chairman and Commissioners, the project itself didn't warrant a traffic impact analysis. All of the existing ingress and egress points are existing on the project site. There will be one closure, and that would be the one that's existing for the existing alley. So that will be closed. The rest are all existing. We're not taking or making any changes to those. The way the site would be set up to be designed and circulate, they would be able to circulate out onto Sierra, come out onto Northern, or they'd be able to exit through the remainder of the project site out onto Stockton Hill directly.
Okay. So the two pieces of property will actually become one piece of property, where Gas and Grub is now, they'll be able to go through the parking or whatever of the new building through Gas and Grub and on out to Stockton Hill Road.
Board Member Russell, that is correct. Yes,
Okay.
this will be treated as one site, fully accessible across all of it.
Chair and Board Members, if I can just clarify, The portion that would be to the right of the orange, so including the alley, that would be the one condition for the parcel plat, that they combine everything from the alley over to Sierra, so that will be the one parcel plat. When they come back to do additional work for the existing gas station or service facility that's there and expansion of their pump islands, likely they would come back and do another parcel plat to combine it then into one single parcel.
So it looks like here on the map, the drive-through, you would be entering along Northern and exiting either into the parking lot or coming out onto Sierra, if that's correct?
Chair Frederickson, that is correct. That is the
Okay.
intended direction of the drive-through.
Okay. We have any further questions of Heather? All right, thank you. Does the applicant like to speak, or do we have?
Oh, absolutely. Let me get that back up there for you. I want to make sure we're still sharing. Yes, we are.
Awesome, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and board members. My name is Rob Sampson with Selberg Associates. It's always my great pleasure to be here, and I thank you guys for taking time out of your schedule to visit with us today and pontificate on this development that we're looking at. Ms. Rasmussen did a phenomenal job of outlining or defining what we're looking to do here. The owner has tasked us with improving the convenience store that they have currently. They'd like to build a new store. They have some limitations that they need to look at as far as what's feasible for them. Does it make sense to build a new building if they can only build a certain size? As you can see, this site, it's obviously a site that they've owned. It's been in their family for years. Unfortunately, it's encumbered with a lot of easements, and those easements aren't ever going to go away. We've met with Unisource and had a number of discussions with them. There's main transmission lines that run through this property. It's not the kind of thing we can just say, let's throw some money at it and it goes away. They just aren't going anywhere. So what we looked at was a couple different opportunities to make us a code compliant site plan. And what we kept coming up with is when you put the site plan on the north side of the building as opposed to on the south side, you keep ending up with the traffic issues and concerns over safety, and we're ending up with accessibility concerns getting into the building. We've all done it. We go to I've gone to travel centers all the time where you have to walk over the Wendy's drive-through or whatever, and it's very doable. But the problem is it's also unsafe. So what they're looking at is a liability standpoint. They have a number of deliveries that show up on a daily basis. As you're aware, most of these vendors are unique. It's one beer vendor, it's an energy drink vendor, it's the hostess vendor. All of these different vendors come in, but they don't have set times. So it's impossible to schedule out a certain amount of time to make sure safety is guaranteed. So what they're trying to do is after looking at the different site plans, we elected to submit for the conceptual site plan. And this is the option that we'd like to go with. In order to get favor from your board today, we looked at a couple different options we could add into to make sure that lifted trucks aren't going to have lights shining into Northern. Everybody here wants safety as a prime concern. I want that to be the baseline of the discussion today. So what we looked at doing was screening the whole drive-through and making sure that those walls are tall enough to prevent lifted trucks from headlights going into Northern and creating an unsafe condition. The last thing we want to do is create a safety concern. So that's why we're here today, is to talk to you about what options we may have. The city has been more than accommodating and trying to help us to navigate through this project. Again, it's a simple building by standards, but it's also a very complicated site just because of the encumbrances on it. So we ask you please look with favor on this variance, and if there's any questions, we're here to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay.
How many people do you envision going through the drive-through?
Well, kidding aside, the owners and I have discussed hoping this is a very vibrant and very successful store. Currently, they have a very vibrant and successful store. In fact, some you've mentioned you've gone by that all the time. For what they accomplish in such a small store, it's actually somewhat miraculous. I'm not saying it's up on Jesus level, but it's really good. So the thing that we're anticipating 4 to 5 cars. I mean, they have a drive-through now that's not really a defined drive-through that sees 2 to 3. So we're hoping that with the incorporation of the of the restaurant that goes through there, and it'll be most likely a mom and pop, not necessarily a branded restaurant, but they're going to try for whatever they can find, and then maybe that increases to say 4, 5, or 6. The intention of closing down the alley, well, one, the alley dead ends into the Sears store or the hardware store, as you go north. So the alley wasn't really accomplishing much of the function it was intended for. So this is an attempt to take a non-conforming use, make it conforming, and essentially just make this property whole when it was done. So to answer your question, 5 to 6 is what we're anticipating, but by closing off that entrance, it gives us the opportunity to stack more vehicles safely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I do. When you're talking about putting like a mom and pop restaurant or something in there, a convenience store, so somebody can come through the drive-through and they can get a couple of liters of pop and this and that and their food. Is it going to be like one?
Yeah, I think that right now we have service where they can get sodas from the fountain. Gas and Grub will primarily manage that drive-through, but depending on what the restaurant goes in there and what it looks like, they'll have opportunities to use it too. So it'll be a dual purpose.
It'd be interesting. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that doing this and bringing in all the landscape and everything you have to do for this is just going to make such a huge difference on that corner, instead of just old cars or whoever with their stuff stacked trying to sell it out there. Yeah, I think it'd be great.
And I was mentioned or coached, so to speak, not to say this. So I'm not trying to say that we're doing a quid pro quo or anything, but really by right, we only have to improve a certain portion of this property. What the owner's electing to do is, for their own benefit, is to improve the whole property. That way it looks as one property. They're looking for something that's going to be a benefit. This is a legacy project for the owners and to pass on to their kids. This is something that they want, something really special over here.
So is there plans in the future when you do tear down the existing store? Is there plans to do something then with that property, or will that just become a parking lot, or?
No, we've actually looked at a couple different options. There's flexibility in the design right now. I think it'll always have a gas component because it's gas in Grub. So we want to make sure that gas component is there. Replacing tanks and putting in new, more modern tank pumps may be the option, but right now that's a long-term play. Right now, they're just looking at maybe orphaning or making the pumps of their own business, and we've talked through the planning department with how we can make that work and be zoning compliant.
Any other questions? Okay.
What's the seating capacity inside the restaurant?
It's very small. It's only maybe 10 or 11. It's not big.
Very
Yeah, it's more of a,
for a quickie.
grab your food and eat real quick and then go back to your masonry job or whatever the case may be.
All right, no further questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I open it up to the public. Does any public have any comments? I see none. Public comments closed. Open it up to the commission and discussion.
I really don't have any discussion. I think it's great. I think making that area look better and putting something in that people can use out there and need. And I hope you never get rid of the gas station there. I mean, I was out there when it was like the first thing out there, and that's, you get out of your house and you got a low tire years ago, and you had to go miles and miles to get air or something like that. And I appreciate it, and I think it would look great, and I'm all for it.
So we have a motion? Sir, please.
I'm sorry, I forgot to ask one more thing, and that's one of the conditions in the approval, and this may be from Mr. Cooper. There's a number of steps that have to go into getting this process approved. If you guys accept the variance, we do have to do a parcel plat, we do have to do a number of things. Just working through the process and knowing the time that can take, it did say that this variance would be good for 1 year. I would like to request, if that's possible, to be 2 years. I think we can get it done in 2. If that's acceptable to be able to add into the language. If not, we'll take it however we can get it, but that's what we'd like.
That's out of our hands.
Yeah, I don't think we can.
That's up to Carl and Jason.
I'll defer over to Jason.
So as long as you're actively working through the process and you're filing your applicable applications for the abandonment and so forth, then that continues to keep you in good standing. So if this project were to go dormant for 6 months, and then at the end of another 6 months, it would expire, that's when you'd have to come back before the process.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
No questions?
Well, I'll make a motion. I'm not sure exactly what to say. I make a motion that we, that, go ahead, read the whole thing.
On the
Okay.
bottom of the red one there.
Oh, okay, all right, okay, all right, okay, oh, look at that, okay. I move to make a motion to approve VA 25-0001A variance requesting relief from section 3-90 .130.c.2.d and 3-90.130.b, wow, of the City of Kingman zoning code, drive-through retail or service facility, which prohibits drive-through located along the street frontage and, oh, I'm sorry, that was A, prohibits drive-through located along the street frontage, and B, drive-through stacked areas located adjacent and parallel to the street or public right-of-way.
I have a motion, I have a second.
I'll second that.
I have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Frederickson,
Approved?
Chair Maroney, or Vice Chair Maroney,
Approved?
Board Member Helton,
Approved?
Board Member Russell,
Approved.
Board Member Baumgartner. It's been approved.
All right. Thank you much. Thank you, everybody. Item number 4, are there any reports from staff?
Thank you, Chair Ferguson and members of the board. I don't have a report for you, but what I do have before you tonight and that I handed out is the Board of Adjustment Handbook. So this is really to serve as a guide for the members of the Board of Adjustment. It's to help you with understanding the rules and quorum of a meeting, also what your role is as a member of the Board of Adjustment. So I know in the past, I don't know how much formal training we've had. I know we do our normal training when it comes to quorums, conflict of interest and everything, but staff has been diligently working on producing these handbooks for our Planning and Zoning Commission, Board of Appeals, as well as for you, to help guide you through the process as you sit as board members and hopefully help you make it an easier process for you as you sit up there. And I know most of you are fairly seasoned. We appreciate your dedication to the service, so some of it may not be new material to you, but at least it provides you with some backup documentation. So, and if you can't sleep at night, it might help you.
Thank you, Jason. Any further comments? All right. Item number 5, announcement by commission members. Limited to announcements of board and commission, liaison reports, availability, attendance, and conferences and seminars.
Nothing.
I see none. Closed. Number 6, request for future reports and updates. Any? I see none. Closed. May I have a motion for adjournment?
I motion to make an adjournment.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.